I'm naturally a more introverted person, and have always been quite happy, like reading a book or being in quiet places, being on my own, and I super need people.
My guest today is a longtime somatic therapist and instructor of counselors who used to be overwhelmed with how much she felt and what to do with it. Over the last 3 decades, she's learned how to empower women who are highly sensitive and can now be in situations she couldn't handle in her 30s or 40s because she hadn't healed the various inherited ideas and imprints related to sensitivity, overwhelm, and anxiety. Welcome, Alexandra Goldwell.
Thank you, Lucia. Happy to be here and talk about sensitivity. Such a huge thing for many women, well, many people.
It is, and yet I know my experience, and I'm going to ask you about yours too. For so long, we felt like we were the only ones, and it just wasn't something that we talked about. So let's start with what your experience has been and kind of how it's evolved, what it's like to be a highly sensitive woman.
Yeah, thanks. It's interesting to remember because I think initially I definitely thought something was wrong with me. Or I remember the thoughts like, what's wrong with me? And I didn't really realize that I was emotionally sensitive. I was picking up energy all the time. I didn't realize that in my teens, certainly, and in my 20s. So that added to the suffering because I saw that as a personal problem, and I got to figure this out. So my techniques were mostly overworking, perfectionism, like kind of control, I guess, and then occasionally numbing out with alcohol or drugs or something, trying to kind of have a reprieve from feeling so much, right? And then I think I found some way just right around 29, 30, 31, I found that was a thing, highly sensitive person. I was like, oh, that is me. And I started to realize I'd been a counselor already for 10 some years. I started to realize like I've just been picking up information constantly. And even when I was a kid, I was naturally picking up stuff and more quiet and observant. And I would just hold it in and then not know, that I was holding all this stuff. So it did help me that I was a therapist, and it did help me that in my later 20s, I'd been doing yoga for a while now, and I had been meditating for a while now. So that really helped me learn and try to uncover, like, there wasn't actually anything wrong with me. I had lots of gifts, and I was very receptive and very intuitive, So then it's been a journey ever since of figuring out how to, be socially connected and have intimate relationships and be in friend groups and continue to be a therapist and healer, and watch that part evolve too, and watch when I would pick up things more often, how I needed to kind of clear my energy each day after the workday, for instance, or after being in certain social situations. So that was just all of a kind of a long experiment.
Sure. And I don't know about for you, but it is an ongoing experiment, always and forever evolving.
Yeah, always learning.
Something that you mentioned is that you were taking on so much from your clients as a therapist. And I think many highly sensitive people are drawn to some type of healing work, whether that is as a therapist or in the medical profession or education, right? Like we're the carers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned kind of, towards the end of your experience was learning how to kind of clear that energy at the end of the day and to not keep carrying that. Can you talk a little bit more about what that process has kind of looked like for you?
Yeah. So over time, I realized that it really helped me. Like, say I would see 5 or 6 clients a day, and that was several days a week. Or if I was teaching yoga in a huge group, it took me a while to realize, oh my God, I'm picking up the energy of everybody I touch, because this was back in the 90s and early 2000s. And I was always touching bodies. We were taught to do adjustments. And I was just taking home all kinds of stuff. So I soon realized it helped me to be out in fresh air. It helped me to go stand by the water. I'm here in Vancouver. I could go stand by the ocean. Helped me if there was like wind or just breeze, if I was walking. It helped me if I went home and had a bath. So it took me a while to realize like, oh, this is really about the elements. I need to understand that actually to maintain my own health and vitality and clarity and discern over and over again what is mine and what's not mine. I need to use these elements on the regular. This is just going to be part of my life if I want this career. So that just became part of practice. Like either I was outside for my walk after, or I was biking home, or I was biking home and I'd have a bath as soon as I got home, or I'd go like sweat somehow. Sweat gets out energy too. Certainly if there's an emotional piece, then crying gets out energy. Like you don't want to be denying, say, a really difficult conversation or many conversations or somebody's story that, and this could just be a story that a friend of yours has or a partner, right? Or a family member. We don't ever want to shut those down. When we're highly sensitive, it's necessary to give voice and space for emotional like clearing, just being human. So if I needed to cry, I cried, I'd be journaling, like anything that uses your own energy is part of getting it out. Exercise, writing, singing, like art. If I was a painting artist, I've always said to the counselors that I was teaching, which is classes full of HSPs, like learn what you need to clear the energy every day. It's not really negotiable if you want to learn more and more what's yours and what's not yours.
Absolutely. I know for me, nature and water have become a huge part of my regular routine, and I can always tell when I haven't been doing that. I
Right.
definitely feel that. And crying is something that I tried so hard for so long to not do, because we're told,
Right.
don't cry. Why are you crying? All those things. And I think sometimes people are coming at it from a kind place in that they're making some assumptions about what the tears mean, and they don't want you to be feeling what they're assuming you are feeling
Yeah.
and see it as this bad thing. And I have learned and have even said at times, I really need to cry, but the tears just won't come. And so there are times when I try to force them now, because I know I will feel better if they will just come out.
Yes. Yes. Crying is such a good, healthy thing. It's just a release of energy. The way sweating is, the way speaking is, the way singing is. It's just another way. Sometimes it hurts in the heart. Sometimes tears do hurt in the heart. Sometimes it just feels tiring. Sometimes tears can be of joy. Like I'm all for, like you, really changing this narrative around what tears are. They're just a necessary part of life and keeping us really human and connected to the heart. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when I finally started to just allow them to come, and even sometimes like try to get them to come,
Yeah.
they don't come as often or last as long. It's so interesting how the concept of what we resist persists, right? Like it was just such an interesting thing that I never expected and has been so nice.
Yes. Yeah. It really changes. It's true. Once you allow something freely, then it shows up less often. Like it shows up when it's needed, but it's often less often. Yeah.
You
Same thing as,
mentioned, oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's the same thing as anger, like any repressed energy or anxiousness. Once you look at it and really say, okay, this is allowed. I'm not going to try to pretend that I have to push it or tell myself that it has to be pushed away. It's allowed. Let's look at it. Let's learn about it. Then through doing that, it usually shows up less often and for less, like shorter duration.
That has definitely been my experience, and I see it in my clients. I'm sure you do too. I also know for the woman who is just trying to do that from like at the beginning, it can feel really scary that if I give into this, that it's going to be worse and it's going to completely take over. So that, I guess, that introductory period of time where you're like, okay, let me try to allow it and not give into it necessarily. What are some tips that you might have for the woman who's like, I am afraid to let my anger out?
Yeah, it might take over, right? That's the fear with grief too. Like, what if it never stops? And it can feel that way, but the fact we have to go there because it's part of learning to trust ourselves. If you can't trust one of your emotions, you never fully trust yourself. And honestly, like, nobody will ever have sustainable happiness or truly find themselves if you can't find that self-trust. So each emotion is one of these portals. What do I say? Like I've said many things, it depends on the person's kind of prior experience, stage of development, like support systems sometimes, but in a way we're kind of trusting life. Like, have some tools and set aside time. Say, if you were going to look at your anger, like, how do you want to do it? Do you want to do some finger painting around what my anger is right now? Do you want to journal about it? Do you want to just get somewhere where you can cathart and yell? Do you want to talk to a friend and just be really raw and honest? Someone who really listens well, or again, see a therapist or a healer or something. But it's just that willingness to face it. Like, just say, okay, I'm going to start to have a relationship. I'm going to start to have a relationship with my tears. I'm going to start to have a relationship with my anger, because it keeps showing up and I'm trying to, but it does not working. So how can I embrace her? You know, give it a name, give it a face, let it be a relationship. And I do have often told people as well, like, you can say no, like, set boundaries. That's what I mean. Like, say, I'm going to write about it. I'm going to sing. I'm going to yell for 5 minutes. I'm going to dance like mad to a song that, brings up anger, and just do one song or something. So you give yourself permission and you have some sort of boundary, but you get to say no. You get to say, this is what I can do. I've got this amount of time. I need it to be done by then for today. I'll come back and visit you another time. Right?
Yeah.
And we can say that with tears too. Often I have said that in the past to a client. Usually we would have had an hour and give them examples, like, nobody's actually ever cried for a full hour. And if you really let go to your tears and let them come, usually your body will exhaust yourself within maybe 10 minutes is more common. Sometimes 15, like, it depends on the depth of the grief. But then there's something natural and intelligent in your own higher self, your own soul, in the guidance inside that says, okay, that's all we can do now. Right?
Yeah. That's how I started. I started with a timer. Okay,
yeah,
I'm going to allow myself this amount of time. And most of the time, to your point, I was done with whatever it was before the timer went off.
Yeah, awesome. It works.
Mm-hmm. It does. And another one that I think has been so helpful, especially in those moments when, and my experience is often with tears, they won't come. And then they come at a very inopportune time. And I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
But saying to those tears, having a relationship with them, I'm not ignoring you. Now's not a really good time. We will pick this up later. And then following up and revisiting whatever it is, the tears, the anger.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's happened to me hundreds of times because I can think of all kinds of days in every decade of my life so far in my career where I was like, no way can I see clients. Like, I got to deal with my own thing. Like, I'm overwhelmed right now. Or I might have just heard a story and it really touched something. And I want to go into my own process, that many times that happened. And I had my own style of prayer, like, okay, I need to be ready for this person. I want to give them everything that I can. Like, we'll tend to this later. I don't know what that was about that I have such strong feelings, but I'll come back to you. yeah, for sure, work, people have to go to appointments. Yeah, it's just happened, I don't know, countless times. I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting how when we know how to do that, it really kind of changes the whole dynamic and our whole relationship with ourselves and our sensitivity and all of the emotions that we feel, because now, exactly what you said, we have this relationship with them and they're not something happening to us. It's, we're working with them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, this is an important point of maturity around emotionality, right? That there used to be more stigma, and I know there still is in many corners and families and cultures and um, around feeling. Like there used to be even more stigma around just being an emotional person and having feelings. Um, and that's something to get through, to realize, hey, and own it, take responsibility or own it. Like, I'm a feeling person. If you want joy, if you want happiness, if you want vitality, then it means I'm also willing to feel with my heart other stuff. Like there's pain and yeah, there's really hard stuff. So it's a willingness to embrace life, and that comes to everybody, I think, at some point in maturity. Whenever some people get it younger, some people don't realize it till much later in life. But it's the nature of vibrancy, if we try to shut off the heart, then you shut off other feelings too.
Absolutely. And so many of our feelings come from interacting with other people, the
Yes.
relationships with those closest to us. So I want to talk a little bit about that and how your relationships have changed, and being socially connected has changed for you as your
Hmm.
life has evolved and you've grown in that emotional maturity.
Hmm. Well, I mean, everybody's so unique. I'm naturally a more introverted person, and have always been quite happy, like reading a book or being in quiet places, being on my own. And I super need people. So, but I'm less social than some. And I think, again, younger in years, I would just go out anywhere to all sorts of environments. And it took a while, or as my sensitivity increased, and as my willingness to numb out my own sensitivity through either alcohol or cannabis or something in the younger years, I became no longer willing to numb that out. And so that changed how I would be social. I realized, oh, when I go total stone sober to certain gatherings where everybody's drinking, or becoming drunk or is already high in some way, I would feel too much of that. And I could still wake up with a hangover, having had nothing, just from being in the environment. My whole head, my body would feel, yeah. So the only time that it worked for me to be in those environments, and that's still true today, is if I'm expressing a lot of energy. If it's a place where I can dance a lot, then I will still go there. If I have to sit amongst a bunch of drunk people, that's way too much that I take on. Like sit quietly, or yeah, and everybody's just talking, and because I'm not as I won't be the first one to talk in a social gathering. But if I can go and dance and sweat and laugh or singing perhaps, or some other form of expression, then sure, it doesn't bother me if people are using things because I'm not holding it.
I have heard from many friends, clients, other people who have this same experience where they leave social situations and they're completely drained. And some it is, allowed. A lot of people, they're very overstimulated. And sometimes it's a small group, but
True.
just that experience of being around people, even if it's people
Yeah.
they want to be around, right?
Yes.
In a setting that they enjoy, they still can leave really drained. And one of the things that you mentioned is if you can express versus kind of receiving, you
Yes.
feel it differently. So for the person who wants to just go to like a small social gathering, let's say like 4 to 6 people, and they
Mhm.
still find themselves leaving there a little bit drained,
Mhm.
how can they not?
Well, I would say that this person who's going to a small gathering and still leaves drained, I would venture to guess 95 or maybe more percent of the time that they are more quiet. I would venture to guess that they're not expressing themselves in a significant way. I'm just talking voice and conversation. I would venture to guess that they're probably sitting back and listening and taking in the energy and maybe staying in the observation role. If they're in that small gathering, because I've experimented with this, like I just had to learn and experiment. If they're in that small gathering and expressing and laughing and asking questions and really, and others are hearing them, you know, that it's more, so this is where we choose who we hang out with too, that it is kind of an equal exchange type of gathering. Right? You're not just going to your gathering of 4 to 6 people and there's 2 people that dominate the conversation the whole time and we all sit back and listen to them. You might still leave that gathering being very drained. And the other thing I would encourage everybody to be cognizant of just for your own learning process is, were people drinking? Were people talking about certain things, like, you know, when you're hanging out with a bunch of people that are complaining? That's freaking draining to me. It's a low frequency, you know? It's not an uplifting frequency. It's a frequency that goes, "Meh." So if you're naturally an optimism or an optimist, and then you're around people who are just kind of going this way, you'll start to feel and leave feeling, oh wow, I have less energy than when I got here. So this is where we make decisions about who we hang out with. Your energy is sacred. You are the one who chooses, you know, where to spend that energy, where to put that energy, who gets to have the honor of being with your energy. You're the one that decides. So that's an empowering thing to realize, okay, I can decide. I mean, how many people have dropped friends, or you see things drift away? I certainly have, or certain friendships or relationships, dropped relationships, definitely, because I was the huge giver there. And that energy was just like, meow, like every time I'm overdoing. That was my early relationship, you know? So everybody needs to realize that about their friendships, their social gatherings, their workplaces. How, and people often have asked me, counselors have always asked me, like, how do you protect your energy? But first off, let's talk about your voice and how you're setting boundaries and how much you're honoring your own energy, you know, versus like some magic way to protect.
Yeah, it's interesting. There are so many more social settings that I can be in now that I used to not be able to be part of.
Okay.
And I didn't necessarily have words to know exactly what was happening, but it really was, I was expressing a lot more in those social settings, whereas before I was very much more the wallflower. And
Right.
so I was leaving so tired. And it was fascinating to me that I was going to these social settings where I didn't know people and I was way more interactive and I would leave energized.
Yes. So true.
Yeah. And there is a fine line with trying to find your right people, so to speak, and you recognize that maybe this group that you have been part of isn't the right fit, and there's an energy expenditure with meeting new people. And so it
Yes.
is a delicate balance, right?
Oh, 100%. It's like we love people, right? Like we love people. So you might have a friend or two that you feel drained after every time you hang out with them. I don't know how many times a client or somebody has told me that, or complained about someone who's like so draining. And it can be hard to let go of those relationships. because you see the best of that person, or you really see where they're coming from or how they've hurt, and that's where the highly sensitive person is sometimes self-deprecating, dishonoring their own energy and overvaluing somebody else. Like, you can't really overvalue another person, but I just mean giving them more importance versus how it's impacting you and your own happiness, So that's the imbalance, and each person has to take responsibility for that. I certainly did. It took me a long time with different relationships.
You mentioned, and forgive me if I'm making the wrong assumption, but you mentioned a relationship in your early life. Was that a romantic relationship?
Yeah. I would say the first couple long-term relationships I had, I was totally giving lots of energy, and the other person not so much, or the other person was more pessimistic. I was always optimistic, just funny dynamics that help you learn, but it's hard.
Yes, and we do so much of the internalizing, and we're the ones who are wrong, so to speak. And I know that also takes a lot of energy, all of that internal chatter.
Yes, does it ever? But that's all acquired, inherited, ideas. And I call it imprinting. When we have a series of inherited beliefs from the parents, and bless them, the grandparents, it just gets passed right on. And then the communities or the larger extended family you hung out with. There's all these kinds of phrases and inherited ideas and beliefs about who knows what. Being kind, about life sucks, or you always get lemons, or things don't work out, or you've just inherited ideas. And those same things that are inherited can be, well, I really want to be compassionate to that person, or it's really important that they have someone to listen to them, and that's that over compensating and not valuing. And that's absolutely an inherited imprinting around value. And women have had this more so around you are not as valuable, your place in the world, your space, your voice. And that simply comes from old generational stuff. We're still collectively trying to continually drop it. Because even 100 years ago, certainly a couple hundred years ago, this stuff is just passed down ancestrally. Grandmothers did not have the rights that women have today to speak their mind, even to share their voice, to have an opinion, let alone like a bank account or owning land or all this sort of thing. So I think it's really important again and again to realize we're part of much larger systems. You're not just carrying some flaws. You're part of a female collective if you're in a woman's body, male collective, a family collective, a cultural collective, maybe a religious collective, and that has you being part of the change in that circle. We all have to step up and choose to value ourselves. And I've been terrible at it. When I look back at all, I'm in my 50s, so it's just a constant looking, oh, wow, that's about value. Oh, wow, there's a thing about value again. But now, at least I can laugh at it. I take it lighter.
Sure. I love the imagery of being part of all of these collectives. I know so many of us, we try to contort to fit into some sort of box, whatever that box may be, right? But when you think about being part of all of these different collectives, it's impossible to fit into a box because you're already part of all of these different things that one box can't encompass anyway.
Exactly. You're part of a bunch of concentric circles, honestly. And then all of us are part of the larger whole that we can't even, it's too big to conceive of. Yeah. So everybody that is growing and expanding and interested in growth and change is doing a part. And I'm happy for that, to every one of you listeners that is doing that part. And you, Alicia.
Thank you. And thank you for being here today and sharing all of this wisdom and your personal experience. I know it's going to help at least one woman, but certainly many more who are listening today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a joy to be here.
If anyone listening wants to learn more about you and the work that you do, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Instagram, and there you'll find my work around helping women to overcome fertility challenges. I work as a healer and feminine fertility guide. And I also have a group program, but you can also access me through that Instagram channel and just DM me for if you want to be part of the group program, because that's about collective, that's about creating and growth and miracles together, which is really fun. And I love that ongoing growth. So anyone who's interested in that, it's just, you're my kind of people.
Well, you are my kind of people. So thank you again for being here. And everyone, until next time, take care.